There are moments in football where an entire stadium suddenly realizes they're witnessing the birth of something special.
It's alive and Mora in position and it was right across the face of goal.
This was one of them.
This is a player that he's the youngest ever player to play for Mexico at a World Cup tournament.
A skinny 17-year-old steps onto the biggest stage the sport has to offer.
It is just crazy to be able to start like that at the World Cup, the magnitude of the game. That tells you how much they trust him.
No World Cup experience, no years of international football behind him, no reason to believe he should be the player everyone is talking about.
Genuine, unbelievable talents that you're like, where did they get this from? They haven't got the experience in their life because they're only 17, but they play like they're 25 years old.
And yet, within minutes, the game begins revolving around him.
He looks like he's been playing professional football. It looks like he's playing at his third World Cup.
Veterans start looking for him every time they win the ball. Defenders stop trying to tackle him alone. Commentators can't believe what they're watching. This isn't just the story of a Wonderkid, it's the story of how a teenager with virtually zero experience took over the World Cup. December 2022. Mexico gets knocked out in the group stage, and in a hotel room in Spain, a 14-year-old kid watches it happen on a screen. Crying, he picks up the phone and calls his father, and makes a promise that sounds completely impossible coming from a kid with no club minutes, no reputation, no pathway to anywhere. He tells his dad he's going to work every single day so he can play in the next World Cup. Now, here's the thing about promises like that. Almost every kid makes one. Almost none of them mean it. Gilberto Mora meant it. Fast forward and Tijuana hands him his first team debut at 15 years and 10 days old. The third youngest debutant in Liga MX history. That's already wild for a domestic league debut. But a few minutes into that same game, he sets up a goal and becomes the youngest assister the league has ever seen.
I've been trying to tell you guys about this kid from the moment he debuted at my club, Cholos de Tijuana. Shout out the best cantera in all of Mexico, because this cantera right here, Cholos de Tijuana, have produced Mexico's generational talent, Mexico's next world-class player.
He's wearing a number that looks like it belongs on some academy kid nobody's heard of. And within a season, it starts feeling like the number belongs to something else entirely, like a prototype nobody built the manual for yet. So, what actually separates him from every other flashy academy kid who gets hyped up for a few months and disappears? It's not the tricks. It's what happens before the ball even gets to him. He's scanning the field constantly, reading where the pressure is coming from, where the gap is going to open up 2 seconds before it actually does. Most teenagers react to the game. Mora is already ahead of it. Juan Carlos Osorio, the coach who gave him that debut, compared him to Andres Iniesta, not because of skill moves or flair, but because of tempo. The way he can control a match from spaces so tight, most players would panic just receiving the ball there.
And he has no fear. He asks for the ball. He demands the ball. He doesn't shy away from the big moments, just like this young lady doesn't shy away from the camera. And that's what Mexico needed. Sometimes it's that it's not knowing what you're really up against that really helps you. And Mora just has all of that. He's going to be a star for this Mexican national team. This
isn't some cute academy story anymore about a kid with potential. This is a teenager who now has to prove all of it on the biggest stage the sport has. But before any of that World Cup magic happens, there's a fight going on that almost nobody outside his camp even knows about. Late 2025 into early 2026, Mora gets hit with pubalgia.
17-year-old Gil Mora withdraws due to injury. It is pubalgia. According to Claro Sports, he has been dealing with it. It's something that could, if he takes care of it, go for anywhere from 3 weeks to 2 months, if not more.
If you don't know what that is, it's a chronic groin condition, and it's ended careers before they even started. Doctors sit him down and tell him the safe move is surgery. Simple as that. But surgery means missing the World Cup in his own country, the exact tournament tied to that promise he made, crying in a hotel room 4 years earlier. He says no. Instead, he chooses conservative treatment, which sounds calm and clinical, until you realize what it actually means for him day to day.
Footballers play with discomfort all the time. All the time. But certain levels of discomfort. Imagine you knowing how fast you are and it limits you. Imagine you knowing what you could do with the ball at your feet and it affects your technical ability, your decision making, because you second guess what you can and can't do in your own body.
It means playing through pain every single day, just to protect his rhythm, just to keep the dream alive long enough to reach the tournament.
Imagine your core and limits the way you operate and move at an optimum level. You can't run full speed, and if you do, there's pain. You can't move laterally. If you do, there's pain. You can't do certain things without discomfort.
Tijuana's response tells you everything about how much trust this kid had built. Days before the World Cup starts, they renew his contract and hand him the number 10 shirt. That's not a small gesture for a teenager. That's real confidence in a kid who chose risk over the safe, easy path. Let's be clear on what conservative treatment actually does here, because it's not a fix. It manages the pain. It doesn't repair the injury. So every sprint, every sharp turn, every explosive burst he makes on the pitch carries real risk of a flare-up, and that flare-up could hit at any point, including in the middle of a knockout match, with the whole country watching. And here's what makes it stranger. Watch him play and you'd never guess any of this. No hesitation, no guarding, no sign that his body is fighting him the entire time. He looks completely calm out there.
When you see a player like Gilberto Mora jump onto the biggest stage possible and look cool as a cucumber, you just know you are dealing with a special player and he's going to be a phenomenal player in the future.
Which is exactly the kind of context that makes what happens next at this World Cup feel almost impossible. His first World Cup minutes come against South Africa, and inside that debut, he does something that has nothing to do with nerves.
And that is Gilberto Mora of Mexico. Attacking midfielder, real Wonderkid, real superstar in the making. He looked good when he came on in that first game.
He goes to ground fighting for a loose ball in midfield, gets back up, and out of nowhere plays a back heel that breaks South Africa's entire press in one motion. It springs a teammate into a 3-on-2, nearly wins Mexico a penalty. That's not a kid trying to survive his first World Cup appearance, that's a kid announcing he's not there to hide. Then comes the start against Czechia. 31 touches, 2 goal contributions, scanning the field before nearly every single reception.
He was the focal point since the minute he started against Czech Republic. I don't see this kid being benched ever again for the selección. He has to start. He has to be the guy because he makes everyone around him way better. A 17-year-old performing like this is not normal.
And here's the part that actually explains why it works. Instead of receiving the ball facing his own goal, he angles his body early, so he's already half turned toward the attack. That means instead of 3 touches to control it, check his surroundings, and finally turn, he needs one touch, and the ball is already moving forward, released before the defense even resets.
Every time he touches the ball, it's with intent, it's with purpose. He's very, very silky on the ball.
Coaches have a name for that. They call it an elite football brain. And it's the single biggest reason a 17-year-old is out here playing like he's got a decade of caps behind him. Then Ecuador happens, and this is where it stops looking like a good tournament and starts looking like something else. Mexico produced their best attacking performance in years.
But I'll tell you what, Mexico were absolutely unbelievable in that game. Really impressive.
And Mora is running the entire midfield against a defense built around William Pachau and Moises Caicedo, 2 players who've already won European titles at club level.
I hope today everyone realized how insane of a talent he is, because he made Moises Caicedo, who was at one point the most expensive Premier League player of all time, he made him look like a mediocre midfielder. He was toying with him, running circles around him, Pacho Hincapié. It doesn't matter that he's 17 years old, guys. When you see a generational talent like that only comes once every other generation, you cannot ignore it.
He doesn't just avoid getting bullied by them, he wins physical battles against them, straight up, at 17 years old. And what makes him so hard to defend is that he refuses to stay in one spot. Some nights he drops deep to help build attacks from his own half. Other times he drifts wide to stretch the defense, or pushes up into that number 10 pocket where he can do the most damage. Whatever the game needs from him in that moment, he becomes it. Now the attention isn't just coming from inside Mexico anymore. Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Thierry Henry on broadcast praising his game in real time. That's not the kind of thing that happens to a teenager at his first tournament. That's the kind of thing that happens to a player the entire sport is suddenly paying attention to. Then, the record drops that puts everything in perspective. At 17 years and 259 days old, he becomes the second youngest player ever to start a World Cup knockout match. The only player younger was Pelé in 1958.
I mean, I can't even tell you what I was doing when I was 17 years old, but I know I wasn't starting not just any game, it has to be said. This is the game to start.
And once that number gets attached to his name, the scouting report stops being quiet about it.
Only 17 years of age, and he had an excellent game out there on the wing. Really, he's a top player. I can see why Arsenal, along with a lot of other top teams across Europe, are really watching him closely.
Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester City, Manchester United, all of them watching closely, all of them running the numbers. This isn't hype building on social media. This is an actual transfer battle starting to take shape in real time between some of the biggest clubs on the planet over a 17-year-old who 4 years ago had 0 professional minutes to his name. The tournament keeps going from here, but the story, the one that matters, has already changed. A kid who once sat crying in a hotel room over a promise he probably couldn't keep is now the reason Europe's biggest clubs are sitting in the stands, taking notes. Mexico didn't just stumble into a talented teenager, they found the player their national team has been missing for decades. If you want more stories like this one, subscribe and drop a comment. How far do you think Gilberto Mora actually goes from here?